Okay, I'm in Wyoming heading to South Dakota. Doing great in the western states. Wonderful weather, wonderful view. I'm having a pretty good road trip. Then I start having vehicle problems. I have reduced engine power. I don't know if it's the fuel, maybe some ethanol in there. The old car doesn't like it. So I have to figure that out. In this video, I'm going to cover some of those problems that I experienced, how I worked through them, and then some of the other problems that occurred as well. I had quite a few issues in South Dakota. Great weather, but I had vehicle issues in South Dakota. Come along and follow with the journey. I'll explain the ups and downs, the problems I had, and how we worked through them. First problem is look under the hood. And sure enough, there's a problem with the gas recirculation hose. Looks like that it heated up and is blown away and it's just pumping hot gases all underneath the hood. So that's not a good sign at all. Luckily, I got some hose and some hose clamps and I repaired that. And I've had problems on this manifold as well, so it's the same size hose. So I had some spares hose clamps and spare hose, so I replaced that. Then on the manifold, it leaks off the end because the cap's missing. So I went and got a piece of hose and I went to another store, which was Tractor Supply, and got a 3/4 inch bolt. I put the 3/4 inch bolt in the hose and clamped it off, and it worked for about 40 minutes. And then the hose melted, proceeded to melt, and lost my bolt and the section of hose. So I took that hose off. I made yet another hose to go where this has failed here. That's where the bolted section had come out, and I lost the bolt. So instead, I walked around and I found the right size rock. So I found a rock in the alongside the road, put it in a new piece of hose. I put the hose on there with a little slit underneath so it go past the injector with that hose clamp on the left. I make the rock so it goes right up against that metal uh, manifold pipe, so that keeps most of the gases reflected in and the heat reflected in by the rock and not necessarily hitting all that hose. So I put some high temperature tape on there. I then put hose clamps on it to keep the rock in place. The middle clamp keeps the rock there. The end clamp keeps it from coming out that way and also keeps the tape on. And then that lasted for a long time. So that mitigated a lot of my heat issues in the engine compartment while replacing that hose as well that feeds that manifold right over the valve cover. And so those are a few pictures and how I mitigated that problem. Here's the view of what it looked like in South Dakota. Nice weather, nice day. I was just cruising right along. After I fixed that problem, I was feeling I was working pretty good. Then it quit working due to temperature. It's like 95 degrees. The coolant was fine, the engine temperature was fine, but somehow all those temperatures underneath the hood collapsed and just ignition just quit working. So I coasted off to the side of the road. And what I was trying to show with that visual is how I coasted and pulled off on the shoulder perfectly without getting off the shoulder because then I'd be in a slope situation. And I had to troubleshoot what my problem was. So I started. I had internet on my phone, but could not make any phone calls. So that was pretty unique to me. But I could look things up. So I sat there. I put the hood open, as you can see with the shade. I had a great view. Had some flowers there. I sat there for 20 minutes and trying to figure out what the issue was. Well, even at 95 degrees with the hood open, it cooled down enough that after about 20, 30 minutes, it started running. Here, the odometer turned to 30,001 miles. The odometer was replaced at 58,000 miles, but for this odometer, it just turned 30,001 miles, so I took a picture of that. Then here, I had to empty everything out of the trunk because I had this power problem. I thought, well, it's probably in the fuel down here. I had a fuel pump, fuel filter issue. So here I took everything out of the trunk, took the spare tire out, and that's where the fuel filter is. I happen to have a spare fuel filter with me, so I swapped that out. It's fairly straightforward. Take it out of the clamp, undo the ends, put it on there, put the clamp back together, tuck everything back up there because it's right by the spare tire. Put it back in the trunk. Well, I went down the road and I had problems again the next day. And so that was in the middle of the day, and it appeared to be heat related. Engine temperature was fine, but just the ignition would just die, and I just coasted off the side of the road. So I sat by this beautiful area, took some pictures of South Dakota. I also drove by some windmills. These windmills were a nice distraction while the car was running, but when it would overheat, I just have to coast off the side of the road and wait till it cooled down and see if I could make it further till I got parked. On I-90, I stopped at the Dignity statue, was right near Chamberlain on I-90. It's a really nice statue and park, and it's amazing how strong they had to make that to handle the winds on the top plateau there. They also had nice restroom facilities there, the air-conditioned building, which I really liked because I was ready to melt. So I had 3 or 4 breakdowns in South Dakota where I was out by the remote highway. Took about 40 minutes each time for things to cool down and the car was able to run. Had some reduced power going up the hills, but I was able to get by. As I got towards eastern South Dakota, I could get more parts and do more troubleshooting on the car. Please like and subscribe, and we have more stories coming in the next video to explain how the journey continues. This is Alaska Road Trippers. We'll see you on down the road.